Everybody knows that a Minecraft account costs just $26.95 in the US and a similar price throughout the rest of the world, right? Well, that's not always the case. See, outside of the official Minecraft.net store, an underground market for the trading of rare usernames has been operating steadily for over 6 years. So, how much do you think these accounts could be worth? Most people I've asked guess that they would be able to get their $26.95 back at least, and maybe 100 or 200 at most for some of the best names out there. Well, try a few $1,000s. In today's episode of Minecraft Uncovered, we explore the history of Minecraft's rarest names of all time. First on the list, let's get the obvious first pick out of the way, and that would be the IGN Minecraft. After all, it is the name of the game, and you can't get much more OG than that. There seems to be some history behind the account, but as far as I'm aware, it's being kept very private. What I do know is that it was created by a normal player all the way back on September 15th of 2010. It still seems to be somewhat active, with Hypixel activity at the end of 2019, Mineplex activity at a time we don't know, and HiveMC activity on August 28th of this year. On Hypixel, it's been in a guild called Randy Newman since the guild was made on March 3rd of 2015, and the guild is presumably for a group of friends. At some point, the owner logged onto Blockmania, a popular server where players like to show off rare capes and usernames, and he used the server to link his account to NameMC. The only info we can really glean from this is that he lives somewhere in the United States, and he's friended with just 2 accounts, Hacker and Vec. Unfortunately, that's really about the end of his story. It sucks that we can't find out any more about the account, but it shouldn't affect the pricing. Speaking of, how much is the username worth? Well, it's hard to say. It has a 2011 cape, but we'll be ignoring that, as well as any sort of stats, ranks, security, and so on, to focus specifically on the name itself. In terms of meaning, which is arguably one of the most important factors in the worth of a username, Minecraft stands alone on top by far. But there are several other factors that it doesn't rank quite as highly on. For example, the length. While it's not super long, 9 characters is on the higher end of the character limit, which generally isn't a good thing. In terms of how clean the name looks, I'd say it's pretty good, but not the best of course. It's 2 words combined together, which never looks as good as a single word name. And finally, the capitalization, which is luckily just as it should be, not some random combination like with Blink. All in all, the value of Minecraft's name alone could be upwards of $10,000. It's impossible to put an exact price on it, as with pretty much any username, but that seems like a reasonable starting point. However, that price will only go up over time, and as the OG name community continues to grow, more players will come in willing to pay that much for the account, potentially driving the price even higher. As with all the other accounts on this list, the account isn't for sale, and I don't expect it will be anytime soon, but who knows? If it ever does end up on the market, it may very well be setting world records in the process. Next up is another obvious pick, which is the IGN Steve. Among being incredibly famous in the Minecraft community, there's also various side effects to the name. For example, being able to control various Minecraft skin and stat sites, like skier.club, by changing the name or skin of the account. The history on this one is still kept in secrecy to some extent, but we know a lot more about it. It was created all the way back in 2010, August 28th to be exact, which just so happens to be exactly 10 years before we last saw the IGN Minecraft. But don't get confused, they do seem to be completely separate. We aren't sure who the original owner was. There are theories that it was created by a Mojang staff member, which isn't horribly unreasonable, but there are also theories that it was just a normal player account. There's credibility to both, and it's hard to figure out which one is true, so feel free to discuss in the comments or my Discord. Anyways, whoever owned the account back then remained active for quite a while, with activity going all the way to late 2013 and potentially even early 2016 when it logged on Hypixel for the first time. However, by then the account very well might have changed hands, because we know that somebody in the account trading community managed to gain access a while back. He played on it for a while, but as expected for any account this rare that changes owners, it was locked shortly thereafter. Interestingly enough though, that isn't the end of the story. See, when an account like this is locked, it's usually the end of the road. The more valuable an account is, the more info Mojang needs to unlock it, sometimes more than the original owner could ever find, much less someone who hacked or bought it. But against all odds, Steve came back to the community in April of 2020, only this time, someone completely different had gotten the account. Well, 2 people actually. Gavin and Gorman were their names, and they were the ones to create and apply the Steve Cat skin to the account, which has since spread to over 1,206 Minecraft profiles and counting. Unfortunately, the account was doomed to meet the same fate as before, and at the end of August 2020, the account was locked once again. So, how much would Steve cost? I don't imagine it would be quite as much as the IGN Minecraft, but the name still has a lot of meaning in the context of the game, and even outside of Minecraft, Steve has been one of the most common male names in the past 100 years, even if it's fallen out of favor recently. It's shorter and cleaner than Minecraft as well, and the capitalization is just as good. All that being said, the account could easily sell for upwards of $5,000, and I'd say $10,000 would probably be a decent upper limit. I don't know how much any of the previous owners bought it for, but I'd imagine they spent maybe a bit less than that since the price has gone up over the years. There is one last point to mention though. Although I can't confirm this, HiveMC's API claims that just last week, on January 11th of 2021, Steve logged on to the server. If that's true, that means the account has defied all expectations and been unlocked a second time, and it could very well be for sale soon. We'll have to wait and see if it's just a bug or if this legendary account really has come back from the dead, but I have a feeling that the story of Steve isn't over just yet. This is likely going to be the least valuable username on this list, but I'd still say that it's in the top 10 for a multitude of reasons. After all, it's the name used by Minecraft's creator himself. Of course, I'm talking about Notch, and while much of the account's value comes from its capes, the username itself is also extremely valuable. Ask any active Minecraft player who Notch is, and I guarantee that 99% are very well aware of him, the man behind the largest video game of all time. Even now, over 6 years after he sold his game to Microsoft, he's still very relevant, even if it's more due to infamy than fame. There is something I would like to note about the account, but before I do so, a massive disclaimer is in order. I cannot confirm this, and I can no longer find the source to it. I thought I read it in a Minecraft handbook, no kidding, I own several of them, but I can't find a source anymore, so please do not take this as fact. If you can find the source to this statement, please let me know. With that out of the way, I've heard that Notch's account doesn't function in the same way as the rest of the Minecraft player base. Supposedly, there is, or at least was, some sort of special way to log into the account through Mojang's system. That could be as simple as two-factor authentication or something like an administrator panel. I don't know, I never saw anything that described this login system, likely for security reasons. If I were to guess, if it does exist, it was implemented due to the authorization exploit back in 2012, where there were instances of players logging into Notch's account and wreaking havoc on servers. If that's true, then Notch's account would likely be out of contention for anything since it isn't really a normal account, but the username is still up for discussion. So, how much could it be worth? As I said, the username is probably the least valuable on our list, but it still has quite a bit going for it. It's short, it's pretty clean, it has a lot of meaning inside the Minecraft community, and it's a pretty common word as well, meaning it would be OG even if Notch used a different username. Because of all that, I'd have to guess that the name is worth around $4,000, give or take a few hundred. This is likely the least accurate appraisal as well, but I'm not really sure. It's quite hard to gauge the value of a name in a situation like this. Of course, there's not a chance that this account would ever be sold. After all, Notch is a multi-billionaire. But it's always interesting to think about what would happen if the account was sold, if one of the most famous Minecraft accounts of all time were to be obtained by an ordinary player, and the chaos that could follow. And now for the name you've all either been excited or dreading to see on this list, depending who you are, Dream. No, this is not a joke, but let me explain why I think the name deserves to be on this list. See, before Dream blew up, this name would not even be considered in the top 1,000. After all, he only bought the account for a few hundred, and while that's a sizable amount, it's nowhere near the prices of the accounts we've been discussing. But over the last year or so, Dream's popularity has absolutely exploded. He's easily the largest Minecraft YouTuber of all time, with over 19 million subscribers combined over his 3 channels, as well as consistently hitting 20 million, 40 million, 60 million views per video. I mean, that's insane. That's more than any other YouTuber I can think of, more than people like DanTDM or Preston Plays in their prime, more than PewDiePie even. As such, his name is synonymous with Minecraft, and he's likely the most well-known example of an OG account ever. Just on NameMC alone, he's the most viewed and most searched Minecraft player that has ever existed, at 113,000 searches per month and 78,000 views per month, over quadruple that of Steve, who seems to hold second place. All of this combined has got to place Dream in the top 10, at least for now, and the value of his username is easily in the range of thousands if not tens of thousands of dollars, over 10 times what he bought it for. That is what you call a good investment. But there's not much more to say about the name. It's very short, very clean, and very well known. So, without further ado, let's move to our final OG account. Or make that accounts. See, this is a rare case, one where the same man owns not just one, but two of the most valuable Minecraft names of all time. The man that also owns what is likely the most valuable Minecraft account of all time. Of course, that man is Marc, but what else could he possibly own? Well, among other great names like LMAO, QQ, and YOLO, Marc also owned two names in particular that would easily rank in the top 10, and those names are Creeper and X. Creeper being the most infamous character in the game, and X being the coolest letter in the alphabet, and one of the highly coveted one-character usernames that the Minecraft community has gone crazy over. But how did he get these accounts? He did work at Mojang, but surely he wasn't around early enough to get both of these, right? Well, that's true, and you would be correct for thinking so. Mojang first met Marc at PAX Prime in 2011, quite a while after these names were made. But see, back when Creeper and X were created, the Minecraft username system was very different than what it is right now. With just an email address, any username could be reserved to a non-premium account used for playing the demo of the game, and anybody could create an infinite amount of these, leading to many desirable names being quickly reserved by players. But not all of them had the money to spend on proper licenses for each account, and so on February 4th of 2015, almost every single one of these non-premium accounts was wiped from existence, and their rare names became available to the premium player base. But before that happened, Marc decided he wanted to keep a few for himself, and among the names he grabbed were X on January 27th and Creeper on February 3rd. So, just how much are these names worth? Well, X basically is a top contender in every category. It's as short as a name can possibly be, and just about as clean as a name can be as well. And it's extremely well known, on account of the fact that it's literally just a letter. All of that combined would place X very high on the list, at over $10,000 easily. But what about Creeper? Well, I'd imagine it would be just a bit below Steve's value of 5 to 10,000. It's just about as popular as Steve in the context of Minecraft, but Steve is more commonly used in the real world, and it's cleaner and shorter as well. So I'd estimate Creeper at a healthy $5,000 flat. But we aren't done yet. X is far from the only one character account, and all of the others are equally as impressive. So let's move on to the quickfire round, tackling the 4 remaining names on our list. We'll begin with F because it's the most mysterious of the bunch. All we know is that it was owned by a player named Jordan, who also owned several other high-tier OGs and invalids back in 2015, and has since left the community, seemingly gone off the face of the internet. The account was locked in his hands, and we likely won't be seeing a return anytime soon. This account could go up to $9,000, having a slightly weakened version of pretty much every positive attribute of X. As a bonus, people will love to spam your name in chat. Next is $. Technically, this name is no longer around, but seeing as the name was only changed very recently, it wouldn't feel right to just ignore it. The account was cracked by DXN, who's very well known for his prowess in obtaining invalid accounts, and Doge, a Minecraft OG collector. This might not be the most complex example of their skill though, as the password to the account was quite simply the word cha-ching. It was sold to a player by the name of Fetus for an undisclosed amount of money, though we can be sure it was quite a lot, and was locked before the name got changed along with many other invalids in a huge name purge back in May of 2020. I'd imagine the worth would be around the same as X because of the invalid character, with a price around $10,000. After $sign is 8, the most well-known of the one-character accounts, was once famously sold for $8,000. The original owner was a guy named Doc, and the account sifted through the hands of many prominent OG traders such as Dark One, Xavier, and Glove before making its way to Fetus once again. The account is most likely locked, but we can't confirm. And our final one-character account, as well as the final name of the top 10, is G. This one is the most history of them all. It was originally owned by a former staff member of Mineplex, who sold it to the same dark one as before. Glove and Xavier were also involved in the history at numerous points, as well as Waterspice, who helped bring many OG accounts to the market, and 3 other players I don't know much about by the names of Gravity, Chandler, and Julian. The last known sale of the account was from Glove during his second time owning the account, with the name once again going to Fetus. Clearly, someone has a lot of money to spend, because the combined worth of those accounts would be nearly $30,000. G would likely be worth the least of the 1 characters. It's been traded for just $3,000 worth of social media accounts, but that was a long time ago, and the price has since grown quite a bit. If I were to estimate it, it would be a bare minimum of $5,000, and likely closer to 6 or 7 grand. And with that, we cap off our list, but these are far from the only Minecraft accounts with extreme value. Just to name a few honorable mentions, there's Diamond, which was unfortunately deleted, God, which was once in the community, Player, which has similar side effects to Steve, and the deleted or changed 1 character accounts, being 1_U, Y, Z, and R, the last of which has its own dedicated video on my channel, as well as an interview with the owner. All in all, Minecraft names are some of the most unexpectedly valuable pieces of video game history, and with this video, I hope to teach you just one thing. They're totally overrated. Hope you all enjoyed. I was getting a lot of comments on my video about the rarest accounts of all time, since it blew up to like 150,000 views recently, and I thought I might as well make one for usernames as well. More videos on the way very soon. I've been working especially hard recently because I want to try to keep up the huge spike of growth I saw over the last 2 months. So yeah. Anyways, that's it. Have a good one. Peace.